Welcome to Soltron. This is a video review for my custom Liger Convoy Mark IV. And here's a size comparison with the Mark III, the Zoids Galvatron, which is his arch enemy, and then of course our legacy Leo Convoy. Here's a 360 view of this guy. Oops, I realized that I had his arm mistransformed, kind of on purpose, but here's a 360 view of this guy. So you can see there's a lot of back kibble, especially these Liger arms. The shoulder pad is definitely too big. Even these like forearm guards are a little bit too large for my taste. So there's definitely some tweaking that's going to be happening with this guy. And the hard thing is all of his kibble has to be carried by his upper body, so that makes it really difficult. But yeah, you can see that his base body is just the MP Leo Prime, and then his Liger parts are from the HMM model, but really it's a knockoff. That was about $50 on AliExpress, which is a really good knockoff. Like everything pegged together pretty well. It was a really fun kit to build. But you can see he's got all these bits. I definitely need his shoulder pad to compress more. It's just way too gigantic on his shoulder. And I think that'll help his robot mode. I think the head side is okay. But yeah, his legs I think end up looking really nice and sleek, just like the original figure. But in the original figure, these lion legs would have been hanging off the back of his forearm anyway. So at least in this mode, he's got his forearms are unencumbered. He can just move his shoulder around. You got to move his shoulder pad out of the way, but everything articulates and moves around like it needs to. And then I kind of made the mistake of joining these two shoulder pads together when they should probably be their own separate pieces. But yeah, this is just a work in progress. There's definitely things that are going to be improved on him, but he does pose pretty well just thanks to the masterpiece Leo Convoy that he was built off of. And another reason I did this custom was just because that original Leo Convoy was just such a loss as far as his alt mode goes. His alt mode was just terrible. So I did this as kind of like a present to Leo Convoy just to give him a more dignified alt mode. But yeah, he can pull off whatever poses he needs to pull off. So I envision this guy being like a hand-to-hand fighter and just using quick strikes. But yeah, he's very top heavy. So yeah, plenty of articulation going on this guy, and I think he looks pretty great. And he does have like another little fighting weapon he can use, just like the original figure could have used, like the lion claws as a weapon. I guess you could get those under his arm if you wanted to, but I did make this guy so you can just move his shoulder pads out of the way. You can rotate this whole joint, and then he can just deploy his Liger arm, and now you can see how he looks without his shoulder pad, and he looks a lot more reasonable. And then you can just rotate the wrist, and it basically looks like now he's got this giant slashing arm that he can use. And then here he is with his Liger arm deployed, and he's ready to fall over because his heels aren't like the best. So yeah, again, work in progress. I'm definitely going to work on his stability and simplifying his shoulder pads. But now he can take on Galvatron, which is the resurrected Beast Wars Megatron, and I think they look really good together. We can go ahead and bring in the Mark III. The Mark III was definitely a more minimal version. Like everything's just nice and clean for the most part. He doesn't have a lot of kibble. He's got like his kibble on the back of his hips, and then these thrusters, I guess, count as kibble, but that's about it. So I made this guy as simple as possible, just a transforming Liger 0, and I did clean this guy up, so now his plastic is nice and white since the last time you saw him, and then I did give him a nice gold nail paint job, so his nails are looking nice too. So I really like how this guy came out, but I do just like the style of this figure better, even though he's really no fun to play with because he's just got so much kibble floating around. It's really all because of his shoulder pads, like really make him not fun. This guy is like a lot more fun to pose. He's a lot easier to just move around because everything's simple, straightforward. He doesn't really have anything complicated going on. What you see is what you get with this guy. He's very simple. And yeah, you don't have to like fuss with him so much to get him into reasonable poses. He's just very easy. So that's kind of the benefit of the Mark III, was that he was just a lot more simple. And I guess before I put him, or I start transforming him, I'm just going to go ahead and let's switch out his other arm too and give him his Liger arm. And this arm's less secure, so this arm likes to slide out of joint a lot. Just because I haven't glued everything down yet. He's not completely finalized, so I don't want to glue something down just to have to rip him apart again. But here's his other Liger arm. So he can have both arms deployed and just ready to slash his enemies to pieces. And then of course his regular robot arms will just stay on his back, and you kind of rotate it like this to hide them a little bit better. But yeah, I prefer his look with just one Liger arm. But anyway, so transforming this guy, you're going to get his whole backpack assembly, just straighten it out, get it out of the way as much as possible. And then you can see how he looks without his backpack, which is kind of nice. I could just pop off that joint. And then his legs are very simple, just like the Mark III. Well, actually, I'll just rotate his Liger arm forward first, since that's catching my attention. We just straighten out the leg, and then there you can see his legs kind of in the right place. Once you straighten out his neck, that's pretty much in the right place now. So this is all pretty much in their correct place. And then you can rotate his forearm, and his forearm guard will basically just settle over that Liger arm like that. So you can see from the side view, he looks pretty complete. From the front, not so great. And then I did give him another joint where his head can rotate out of the way. So I guess we can do that, is you just rotate this on this ball joint, and then his head will rotate into his chest. This part of the transformation is not really complete, so it's going to be kind of like the Voyager Leo Convoy. And then his leg is very simple. You just rotate that there, and then you rotate this back part, because the Liger 0 has very weird non-feline legs. They look basically like this. And then you get his massive backpack shoulder pad, and that's going to just settle on his butt right there. All right, and then the same thing with his other side, neaten him up a bit. And then his proportions are definitely off, but you can see he does become a fairly convincing Liger 0, but I think his neck is a little bit too far forward. His shoulder pads are a little bit off. I think his arm, this forearm, looks really nice. This back part is just like still figuring it out. That wasn't really a priority for me as I was making this guy transform. And then, yeah, again, this thing just needs to be smaller and more compact. So I got to find a way to make that happen. But overall, I think he's a pretty good looking Liger Zero. He's definitely missing a lot of his parts. And then I do like that his head can actually go up so he's not just always in attack mode. So there are some things that definitely need to be cleaned up about him. I have some ideas on making his body look more long by just like rotating this forward, and then that could help kind of lengthen him out. But obviously you can see he's missing a lot of his pieces. The Liger mode was not as much of a priority as his robot mode. But this is where he's at so far in the first update, and I think he's turning out pretty good. But you can see compared to Mark III, yeah, Mark IV just looks like a skeleton. He's got all his parts in place, but you look at Mark III and his transformation, so simple. And look at, he just gets the job done. Obviously the Liger was like the priority for this figure, so that's why the robot mode is not quite as good. But you can see that this guy is kind of in progress, whereas this guy's just done. He looks really good, right? And I am going to be listing Mark III for sale, since now I'm working on Mark IV, which will probably be the final time I do this custom. But yeah, hope you liked that little preview, and I'll see you in the next one.